normal dashboard?
Question on executive dashboard versus normal dashboard. Executive dashboards are based off of MFG cubes, which I really, really dislike, so I don't use them, but I'm doing something very similar that you would do in an executive dashboard with an external query. The cubes let you build up a temp table and kind of do some pivots and that kind of stuff. Still not coming up outside of it. Okay, so I'm in Epicor's training database. The dashboard that I'm going to create, application is going to be for updating min, max, safety stock, those type of items for inventory parts. And I want to be able to do this, all at once, bring it out to Excel and manipulate it that way. I also want to be able to search through that and see more of what's going on. To do that, first I'm going to make a BAQ. So, a BAQ, or a business activity query, this is a tool that lets you get data out of your database. In database, you've got tables, and you can link tables together so you can see the data that is there. So, I'm not going to check it as updatable first. First, I'm just going to start with building the query. So, I said I'm going to update some items on part. I'm going to start out with my part table, and min, max, safety stock is actually in the part plant table. So, how do I know that? If I go into part entry, I can bring up field help. And once I have field help up, there's a little tab that is technical details. So now if you click into a field, it shows you in the DB field what the table is and what the field is. So if I wanted to go to plants and min on hand, I would see that it is in part plant and min quantity. Let's see, I believe if I go to here, so this one, warehouse primary bin, Epi binding says part warehouse primary bin number, DB field is blank. That means you're going to have a hard time finding this field. I don't know what else to say. Does it actually tell you on this one? Some. Huh? So it is in a table. I don't remember what table it is. There are a couple different. There's like a patch field table. There's a local 001 table. There's this one I think is actually in a normally named table, but it doesn't reference it. Huh? It's in plant warehouse. Okay. Yeah, so this one's actually in a pretty good spot. Some of them are in really bad spots. I don't know what to tell you except it's going to be hard to find. Okay, so I know I need a part table and a part plant. So when I drag these over, it was really nice. It made this link for me automatically because it knows how these two tables are related to each other. If I click on the link, it's going to show me the relationship. The company is equal to company and part number is equal to part number. It doesn't always know that, and if it doesn't know that, you won't get, I suppose I can just delete the link. So you'll drop it over here and it does nothing. It doesn't create a link for you. When that happens, you have to create your own link and you drag it between the two tables. You're going to want to point to the parent table, basically. Most of the time you will. That will be relevant for the outer join. So outer join. I had a question about outer join to begin with. Outer joins are if you have, so you've got records that are related to each other, but they aren't always there. And actually, I've got the good example of it right here. The other field that I was going to bring, other table I was going to bring in, vendor. So part plant has a default vendor on it, but not all of those are going to be necessarily filled in. So in that case, you want to select an outer join. I'll actually show the results doing it with an outer join and without an outer join, so you can see the difference between the two type of joins. When you have an outer join, it says, hey, no matter what, give me all the part records in the part plant, but if you don't have any vendor records, that's okay. So for this one, I just want to look at part number or part description, class ID from part plant, minimum, maximum, safety, and from the vendor, we're just going to grab the vendor name. These are just the fields I want to display in this BAQ. So right now this is not an outer join. I'm going to go to Analyze. I'm going to test it and show my summaries. I just showed summaries just so I could get a count of how many. So I got 783 records, and you'll notice all of them have suppliers on them. If I come back here and make this an outer join, I should have, well, I don't know if I should or not. I'm guessing I'm going to have a different number of records returned. Yeah. So 12,000 or 1,299 because it returned these records that aren't tied to suppliers. Does that make sense on outer joins? Okay. So let's.
So select that outer join. You just highlighted the link itself. And then
Yep, highlighted the link
okay.
and hit the checkbox.
The other thing with those is when you're back on the design mode, you see that little box, and you triangle that without having to look down, you can go okay, that.
Yeah, that icon there indicates that it's an outer join. I do want to add one other piece to this. So I brought in part plant. So minimum and maximum are plant specific. So in this application, I only want to see the record for the plant that I'm in right now. So I'm going to add a criteria to this. So I selected the table, clicked on criteria down here, hit new, and I'm going to say the plant is a BAQ special constant of current plant. So now this will only return the plant records for the current plant that I'm in. So I'll only see min and max for the plant that I'm in on the menu. Alright, to make this updatable, check updatable, and then a little bit more to it. But now things start to open up on this update tab. So you can choose which fields you want to be updatable. I'm going to choose min, max, and safety. And then update processing. By default, advanced BPM update only is always checked. I immediately uncheck it. I've never used it. That's if you want to write your own code for what this is going to do. And I don't want to do that. So now I need to select a business object. So when I click on the business object, it's going to give me some options. It says, hey, I know what tables you've got in here. Here are the business objects that can deal with these tables. So it gave me an option of vendor because it knows I have vendor in there. But I'm not actually updating anything on the vendor, so I'll stick with the part business object. Select OK, and it's going to bring in the tables to update. So back here, I only checked fields that are in the part plant table that I want to update. But this will not work if I only do this. Anytime that you have a parent-child relationship, you need to have the parent table checked also. The part update business object, the logic behind it says, hey, I need you to send me the part info too. You can't just send me the part plan info. I need the part info. So those two are checked. Now I come down here, and this is the information that it needs to make the update. So it's saying it needs to know this information. Some of it already knows. Like it knows that the part number is going to be from my results part.part number. Because I have part number displayed in my BAQ display. When I go down here, it doesn't know what part plant part number and part plant should be. The easy way around that is to go back to the display and bring in those two fields that it doesn't know what to do with. When you do that, I forget, there's some checking and unchecking that you need to do to get it to recognize that you gave it the fields that it wanted. The other thing you can do is you can use the expression editor, which is what I'm going to do here, because I know what part plant part number should be and part plant should be. So I click on the expression editor, and so part plant part number is going to be the same as part number. So I'm just going to bring it in, and that's all I need to do with that. Part plant, if you remember, was a criteria that I applied onto it. So I know it's always going to be my current plant. which is available over here on the BAQ constants. So I've got that. So after I close out of that, I've got those filled in. Now this is valid to be an updatable dashboard. Regenerate the BPM directive, which saves it and lets it spin for a while. And now once this finishes, I'm going to get some different options on the Analyze tab. Before on the Analyze tab, I had Analyze and Test were available. Those are now no longer going to be available. But on the right-hand side, so Analyze is available, Test is not. But now I have Get List and Update. So Get List runs the query, gives you a warning that, hey, this is updatable, you can change stuff now. And we'll bring it back. Now, if I want to test out to make sure that these items are actually updatable, I can double click on a record and I can change it, hit OK, and update. Oh, on-hand quantity, maximum on-hand. Oh, sorry, that doesn't make sense what I just tried to do. So I tried to give it an invalid, I gave it an invalid value, and the business object said, what you just told me doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to let you do it. Which was good. But 1001 probably is. So now if I get my list again, we change that value. Oh yeah, I don't get an open with in here. So I've got those. Now I'm going to bring this into a dashboard. So, dashboards. So I'm just making a new dashboard. And first thing I'm going to do is a new query. It wants to know what query it was. What did I call it? Epic 03 EUG part. So now I can bring it into a dashboard. You can search it. Yep. I just didn't search it because the demo database has a lot of queries in it, and yeah. Normally I do search them. I just since I had it up. So I've got it in here. Now I want to make it updatable in here. So I can also select if I had made a query that had more fields than I wanted. For example, if I brought in partplant.partnum and partplant.plant, so I didn't have to use the expression editor, I probably don't want to display that in here. So I could just turn off the visible in here. And now the fields are in my query, but I'm not showing them on the dashboard. I'm going to make this updatable, which is as simple as checking the box and creating the prompts. Hit OK, and I'm going to deploy this right away. I'm going to add it as a favorites. I'll show how to add it as a menu item also, just so we can see how it works. So what that did is that created a DLL on the server, built it into an assembly, and it added it to my favorites. Now I've got a dashboard, which I can do this with. Opening it with Excel. Let's make our inventory skyrocket. Did I not? Oh, I did it. I thought I did a blank instead of a. So when I tried to do the paste update, didn't like that one. So it highlighted it red. Can send it back in there. So now these values have changed. If I open this up with part entry, I go to the plant tab, there's my value. So one thing that I keep just sitting around, I've got a BAQ that I call update. I've got a dashboard that I call update. When somebody says, oh hey, can we go and change these parts to this part class, and I modify the BAQ and bring it into my new dashboard, deploy it, open it up in my favorites, not everybody else's, copy it to Excel, send it to them, say, hey, here's your Excel spreadsheet, update it, send it back to me, and then I'll import it. So for little kind of on-the-fly data cleanup, updatable dashboards are really, really, really quick. A question had been asked in the user group forum is related to this, and I did a quick little YouTube video just to demo an updatable dashboard, and I went from nothing to updating parts in Excel in 5 minutes. So when you get used to it, it can go really, really fast. Okay, let's go back to this dashboard. So there are some other things that you can do in a dashboard. There are view rules. So if there are items that are cause problems or that you want to highlight, you can create a rule about them and highlight the field red. Just as an example, I'm going to say, and what if my minimum quantity is greater than 10,000? I want my minimum quantity to show as an error. Do that. And why didn't it go? Oh. I didn't move the rule over. Okay, new rule. I want minimum error. There we go. Okay, there we go. So, fairly easy to create things like that. You can also compare fields. On my original demo, I brought in quantity bearing under part and quantity bearing under part plant, because they can be different, and you probably usually don't want them to be different.
Same with the cost methods too.
Cost methods, yeah, they can be different. So you can compare two fields and highlight them if they're, highlight them if you don't like what's going on.
You could do something like with price lists. If you're having, 5% price increase, export everything to Excel, increase it 5%, and update it.
Yes. Yes. So you should be able to, if you can make a dashboard of it, you should be able to. So most of the times you should be able to turn it into an updatable dashboard. Things that I have not tried to do, like in this example, I brought in supplier name. I'm guessing with the advanced update processing you could do it, but out of the box you can't go in there and take this list, update the minimum, and change the supplier name. Well, you could update the supplier, but you couldn't go over to the supplier table. So you hit one business object at a time. So, but price lists would be on a single business object.
So that example you just said, could you do that in two different?
You could do that in two different.
Two steps.
Yep. The other piece that would be difficult on default supplier, actually I want to show that because I think that's relevant. Let me close out of this. So, what if I wanted to change the vendor? Let's see. General properties. I want vendor number as updatable. And okay. So what seems to happen sometimes with these is as you modify them, it doesn't always pick up the new stuff. Okay, I'm pretty sure you can go new and you can type in what it needs to be. I tend to be a little bit lazier, and I'm going to be lazier now. I'm going to bring those two in, and I'm going to uncheck these and see if it picks it up now. So what I'm looking for is if it picked up that I want part plant vendor number to be updatable. And I do not see that it did. So if it doesn't pick it up, if you reselect the business object, it added it now to the bottom. So, just a quirk. So, I've got that. I saved this. I added the vendor number. I did already exit out of the dashboard. You would need to exit out of the dashboard. So if you make a change on a query, exit out of the dashboard, then come back into the dashboard so it reloads the query. So what I wanted to show on this is maybe one of the difficulties. Okay, so I've got my, does anybody know what I missed? So you saw what I missed, but you didn't say anything? You're just waiting? I forgot to make the vendor number with a prompt in here. I'm actually going to make sure those aren't. I'm going to go OK, save it, and deploy it again. I don't think I need to check add favorites every time, but I just do. So, if I wanted to update all the default suppliers, unfortunately, out of the box in the simple way, I have to know the supplier number. So that's going to be a disadvantage in the updatable dashboards. But if you're good with Excel, you can make some stuff to help you, you've got it in Excel now, you can do some things to help you get there. But I can't just update the name because what part plant just has vendor number on it. So that's the field that you would have to update. So you will run into stuff like that. Okay. Now I want to add a filter back here. So to add a filter, first I have to get on the query and then a new tracker view. So I'm just going to make a quick little one. Actually, I'm going to do minimum. If the minimum is equal to something. So now I've got 100,000 in there. If I hit refresh, I only get the parts with 100,000 in it. Here's a piece that drove me nuts for the longest time. I want to use this for searching, but every time I click, it changes. It's really simple. It's just a checkbox. So in the tracker view, there's a checkbox. It says input prompts only. So now, if I clear this out, as I select, it's not changing my value down here. But I can still filter on a value. So, built-in ones like this, I'd say work fairly well for real simple cases, where you're searching by, like if you wanted to do a text search, that works. If you're doing specific numbers. I tend to jump into a little bit more advanced search fairly quickly, just because it's you get a lot more options. As from this right here, I have no way to say, hey, I want to see all the parts that are greater than, have a minimum greater than something and less than something. Or I want to do a date range from what I'll call the wizard, or just in here you can't do that. But it's not too bad. I'm going to make another tracker view. And I'm not going to make anything visible. Let's see. Just looking at time, because I do want to make sure I deploy this to the menu before we finish, because yeah, we should actually have a deliverable product. I'm just going to do a quick one on minimum. So I'm going to make a tracker view, but I'm not going to make anything visible. And here's my new tracker. I'm going to customize the tracker. So now I get into the wonderful customization stuff on here. But for the things that you do in here, a lot of times it's not too bad. So I'm going to toss down a label and a text box and another label there and another text box. I'm not going to take time cleaning this up. Okay, so I've got two text boxes, and I'm going to make one of them the minimum from and a minimum to that I'm going to use for searching. So, when I come into here, after I've selected the text box, I'm looking at the properties on the text box, a couple options that need to be changed. So, I want to make this a tracker query control, so I'm going to change that to true. And then I'm going to come up all the way to the top, and it is going to be a dashboard prompt of true. And where is my field query column? I'm sorry, back here. So the query column is the minimum quantity, and I want that to be greater than or equal to. Can't figure out why the two pieces to do this are on opposite ends of the screen, because I always go back and forth to get all my settings. This is one of these other times where you actually want to make sure that you delete whatever the data is in the text, because it's on a normal customization you don't always have to do that because you've bound it to real data and it just overwrites whatever's there. This will be a default value. So if I wanted to have a default value that these would be filled in, I could do that. I'll actually do it just for fun. That should be that one. Now this one is query control 2, query column minimum quantity, and we're going to prompt. I'm not going to put anything in there, and it is less than or equal to. Close out of this. Now, let's see. Oh, I do also have, I do want to bring up properties and check my input prompts only so that I can do this. I'm going to say 100 to 1,000, and I filtered on my minimum from 100 to 1,000. Probably the most practical time for the to and from is actually on dates, so that you can actually, I always want a date range. I don't want a specific date, I want a date range. All right, so I'm going to deploy this. I'll also show what menu tab does. If you check the menu tab, it deploys it. Here. So, just another place to deploy it. And that's going to be for the, should be just for the current user. I've never tested that out, but that should be just the current user. So if I want to make this available to everyone, I need to go into menu maintenance, system management, and I think it just gave me a never seen anybody else that has this problem. When I go into menu maintenance, I have to run as administrator.
I have the same problem.
Okay,
It only happens occasionally for somebody.
I have, if I'm going to go into menu maintenance, I have to run as administrator. I can get every place else except for menu maintenance. Yeah, it is strange. I'm glad I'm not the only one, though.
And that's even though you're set up as an administrator in your user profile.
Yep.
That's what's weird about it.
Okay, menu maintenance. So, I'm going to just add something in material management. I'm going to actually add a subfolder first. Submenu. So menu ID always needs to, I think still always needs to begin with UD, just because. You can set the order of it. That's going to be where it shows up on the list. I tend to put everything all in all my custom stuff I tend to do in custom directories, because then I know where they are, and then on an upgrade it's actually fairly quick to test them all out because I just go down the line. Let's see. UD. And this was a. And this is, so here's where you get the choice between dashboard runtime and dashboard assembly. I'm going to actually leave it as
What's the difference between the two? Why would you use one versus the other?
dashboard runtime. Okay, we'll start out with the dashboard runtime, the one I don't like. So there are a couple things about it. If you are multi-company and you want your dashboards to work across all companies, they have to be assemblies. Otherwise, you have to recreate your dashboard in every company. That's probably the main. That was the driving factor for me. But there are other reasons. Okay, so I've got it there. Part. You get the web interface, yes, if you use it.
But the good thing about the runtime is when you open a dashboard, you still be able to modify whatever you want to change in there and save it. So the assembly, you cannot do anything. Once you assemble it, that's it.
Yeah, so the runtime you can modify it on the fly. You can just click developer and you can change it right then and there. But for me, that's would be a reason to not do it because I don't want. I keep that in my control. I don't pass that out. So this one I'm selecting as assembly. Select it by name. You can also apply customizations on the top of dashboard assemblies. So you can add a whole nother, you can open it up in developer mode and add another layer of customization on top. There are applications for that. I can show one real quick because it's actually kind of a neat application. I'll just show what it can do. Okay, so now I've got these two items in here. Exit out. Come back in. Okay, so where did I put that? Deal management costume. So here's the runtime version of it. So paste updates are not going to work in here. Also, I can go in and grab a different dashboard. So any dashboard that's available, I can just go to the general and check it out. All right. So that's kind of a security hold. The assembly should also load faster after the first time you load it because it's going to be a DLL on your local machine. And you get updatability. Save layouts should work. Yes, they did. I believe in the runtime save layouts doesn't work. Kind of all that. Just kind of is what it is. So I'm going to get to as far as developing this. I'm going to try one more time to see if in this hour everything finished starting, and I can show what the finished product looks like. Nope. So the features that I added in the finished product. I'll just describe what they are, and you'll have to just believe me that they did this. I added something fairly basic, I added a combo box to pick up part class so that you could search, just select from a combo box to get the part class. I also took this and I said, great, okay, I'm updating min, maxes, and safety. Well, I probably need some more information to actually do that. So I used an external query to reference a SQL view so that as I click on the part, down on the bottom, I get monthly usage of the part. So as I transition through, I can see usage on the part in total buckets by month. That could be done with an executive query and building a cube. I would have a real hard time doing it without an executive query in a normal BA cube. It's fairly straightforward in SQL to do that type of thing. So that in the dashboard is a publish-subscribe relationship, and then also just as here's what you can do. I took the name of the vendor and I made a URL view that searched Google for the vendor's name, and as you click down it would keep on refreshing the Google search. You could do that in a much more practical way. If the demo database had vendor URLs in them, that's what I would have put there, but the demo database didn't have any actual URLs. They didn't have any web addresses, so you can do things like that where you take the data in that's displayed there and you can do a publish and then subscribe in a different section on the same screen. That publish subscribe is also true in screen customizations, because you can take a dashboard and you can put it onto a screen. I'll give one example of that. New PO suggestions. So there's the new PO suggestions screen, but to me, to get the full picture, you also need to see the change POs suggestions that are out there. So our new PO suggestion screens, when you click on the part, down at the bottom it gives you a list of all the change suggestions that are out there also. Because sometimes there's a new suggestion, but there's also a cancel suggestion or something goofy. Yeah. So, but you could do that with any type of information. You could have on the new PO suggestions, you could say, hey, show me all the open purchase orders for this part. And as you click through, you can have that information change. The one last little thing so once you have, there's some advantages to making the assembly, and I mentioned that now you can add another customization layer on top of that. I will show that. briefly. And where is it? So this is kind of a dashboard. Well, it is a dashboard, but it's really customized. It doesn't look like it at first, but you'll see once I start touching it why it's different. If it comes back. So I'm getting this. I'm getting a dynamic search on here. See, as I type, my list is getting smaller and smaller. So those type of things are possible, not as easy. All right. Any questions? Or I will see new PO. Oh, that one? I don't know. Here's just PL suggestions, just so you can see what a publisher.
For that dashboard, did you refresh everything first?
I refreshed. I pulled all the data locally,
And then you can start from
and then I can start filtering it on the fly.
I'm thinking about automatic, without refreshing the data, so you can just put a search on it, automatically looking for that. So I think that's just like an external query, right?
Could you do it with it? Yeah, you could do it, but it wouldn't be so fast.
Yeah.
That's why it's so fast. Maybe purchase order suggestions aren't going to come up here. But all I was going to show on this is there's PL suggestions down on the bottom, and as you go through the material list, it will show you. The data down here changes, and that's.
And how do you link that to that screen, or how do you?
That's bringing a dashboard into a screen. I can. Do you want me to show that next time?
I'd be interested in that.
Okay. I'm only 15. Yeah, I started 15 minutes late.
Right on
So
time.
okay, we will finish. I will finish this up now. Yeah. So if there's anything that next meeting, I will start where I left off here and finish off that dashboard. I'll attach it to. I'll figure out something I can attach it to, just to show a dashboard. Yeah, and if there's anything that you really want to, anything I glossed over that you want to see, toss it on the eval. And let me know, and I'll try to cover it. Oh, hey, it came up. Are there any suggestions? No suggestions out there. It does work. They've been keeping the PO suggestions very clean, I guess. So, that's all I've got.